Hello everybody, Jack the Railfan here. Today I'm going to be showing you what I've been working on between these two trucks over the winter and the early spring. First off, I'm sure you've noticed if you've seen some of my other videos about it. This is my 1957 Chevy 5400 low cab forward. It's in desperate need of new tires, so I'm finally getting started on that whole project. And part of that is servicing the wheel bearings. This spins much nicer than it used to, and that's because it is now packed with actual proper grease instead of gear oil, and way too much of it as well. There was gear oil, totally black and very smelly, smeared all over the brake pads, or the linings of the drum brakes, and all inside of the whole thing, because they put way too much in there. So the brakes in the front wouldn't have actually worked well at all. And on top of that, it wasn't aligned properly, so it would rub up against those brakes every time it went around with that swish-swish that some trucks have. Now it's all taken care of. On the other side that I have not done yet, I'm gonna hold on to this wheel as a spare, by the way. That's why it's marked. It does not roll nearly as well as that on the other side. So this is the next one that's going to be done. My project for today is to get this wheel off, put it on the other as a safety just temporarily. The whole front of the truck is blocked up. That's how I was able to spin it. Have a hand crank mechanical jack under there. Way more reliable and simple, of course, goes with the trucks than a hydraulic jack. Very reliable. Then this truck over here, it will be getting its front hubs checked out next, because this is going to be my daily driver, as it turns out. This is a 1960 Ford F600 with a 223 6-cylinder and a Warner 4-speed, plus a Eaton 2-speed rear end with a high gear ratio of 5.83 to 1. So I cleaned up the carburetor, made this new line with my dad for the distributor, because this is what's called a load-o-matic distributor. It depends entirely on the engine vacuum to give you spark advance. Kind of a weird Ford deal from the 50s. It was meant to adjust the spark advance specifically to how much load you were putting on the engine. So it has to be all set just right. Changed the oil, 6 quarts of SAE 30 oil. That's what it says to put in it in the manual and on the glove box door. Changed out the fuel filter down there. It's got a glass bowl filter, AC brand. And I've been taking care of stuff on the frame with my dad as well. We cut up a bunch of stuff that was just weighing it down and making it hard to work on. There used to be a broken hitch some farmer made here, and I've been painting along the way. We replaced the U-bolts that hold the axle to the springs. I added that Eaton 2-speed shift motor, and just the other day I applied power to it with an automotive battery charger, and we pushed it along to give it the slack it needed, and it's now in high gear, which now gives it a top speed of about 75 instead of 45, because the low gear in this truck is 8.1 to 1. Inside the cab, the seat is actually really nice, and so I was able to take the cover off of it and put it in the cab of that truck, which is really good because that truck seat was pretty torn up and worn out. I have the light switch of a interior light switch out of a 1954 Mercury, because the current one is really quite corroded, and I need to take that out and clean it all up. But in the meantime, while I run all my tests, I can now run stuck brights on, but that's way cooler anyways. Speedometer works, the generator and oil indicator lights work, and I'm not so sure about these two yet, because I've never run it for more than a couple of minutes to get the temp up, and I've never had enough gas in the tank at one time to make it read on the gauge. But we'll see about that. And I found out that the speedometer adapter for the 2-speed rear end, because after all it's hooked to the transmission, not the rear end, so it takes an electrical signal to hold it in low gear, not high gear. On the Chevy trucks, they are designed to want to stay in low gear. This one, the adapter was inaccurate, so it's now showing more miles on the odometer than are actually on the truck, because I've driven it about 5 miles or so now. in low gear with the speedometer, thinking that it should be reading in high because it's held with the spring. Then I checked out all stuff like the parking brake. I also adjusted the one on that truck, so it's way better. Basically everything is happening between these two trucks at once because they're really quite similar. It seems like they might even have the same design of frames. They definitely have the same spring sets. They're identical. Got the springs on the auxiliary springs anyway on both sides painted, the new U-bolts, and pretty soon this whole thing will be painted. This used to be a Leonard Oil fuel truck, and I have been polishing up the blue part of the paint and some of the white. If we go to the other side, you'll be able to see this is the old owner's name, Bud Laux. He used to haul heating oil with this in Charlotte, Michigan. So this used to have a 1,200 gallon fuel delivery tank on the back, made by Michigan Tank Truck Service. And I actually have the papers that came with it. They were in the glove box for the Haney brand hose reels and Blackmer brand fuel pump that used to run off the PTO, which is still there. But this shaft has been weirdly welded in to run a grain dump bed because this was owned by a family of farmers between him and us. And this has a sort of working cousin over here, also a 1957 Chevy 5400, but with its original engine and everything. These wheels have been repainted, by the way. This is also a Leonard Oil truck. This used to work in Williamston. So they were quite a distance away from each other, but really quite similar size and weight of trucks because they both have the same size of tank. So this one will actually get a tank like that. That one is going to have a stake bed on it, and I've been thinking about turning this one back into a semi-truck like it was when it was new. This one worked for Hess Cartage, number 781. So yeah, that's most of what I've been working on, just hubs and brakes, trying to get things figured out. Plenty of wiring, of course, always wiring with this thing as I learn more about how it all works. For example, I finished this taillight piece up, single taillight with a stoplight built in as it was from the factory, finished and wrapped up with electrical tape to protect it. So yeah, plenty of stuff is going to happen to both of these, but this is going to be my daily driver pretty soon. They'll get worked on side by side, just like in the shops that they would have been kept up in years ago. So if you want to keep seeing some videos like these about how these trucks are coming along, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications so that you know whenever I post a video. See you in the next one. Bye.